pets better food, quality food that is going to make them healthy, maybe you'll start thinking about your own health. Because believe it or not, we have been taught to find love outside ourselves. We've been taught that we're supposed to help everybody else, but when it comes to ourselves, we will leave ourselves last. So that's why we do this show. And I want to thank you to the show and understand something. We have people that have sent questions in, but I need people to call in because that's the way you're going to get answers. And our phone number is 888-570-9445. And everybody, are you ready to take your pet's health and healing to the highest level? And I do mean the highest level. My co-host today is the world-renowned Dr. Marlene Siegel from her clinic in Tampa, Florida. Hi, Marlene.
Hey, everybody. How are you?
So get ready, get your questions, and please, I'm going to do a couple of announcements, and then we're going to start right out of the gate. Dr. Siegel is going to be talking about a few topics that she feels very important today from people who have actually sent in questions. You need to tell us what you want us to talk about. That's why we're here for you, okay? And then she's going to open up those topics, and then we have the phones open all the time. We can always come back, and Dr. Siegel and I can do our talking. But remember something, this is your show, okay? Your pet is the world to you. So make sure that you're asking the questions, because when your pet is healthy, you're going to be healthier. You're going to be happier, okay? So let me just go over a couple of things. I'd like everyone to take a look on our website at ITIOH. Join us for the Braveheart Retreat. It's a 6-day life-changing event with myself and Mary Phillips. This getaway is the tipping point that will change your life for the rest of your life. Be prepared to discover the authentic you on an emotional and physical level. This is going to be held at the Lido Resort in Palm Springs, California from September 16th to the 21st. All attendees will be receiving my Braveheart training free, which is a $500 value. There are only 16 available spots, and we only have like 6 left. So check it out. Go to itioh.com, okay? And you're going to love it, okay? So what I'm going to be doing is a Braveheart training. We're also going to be having fresh and raw food and juices, and we're going to be doing hikes, and we're going to be going and seeing some wild wolves, and we're going to be doing some things at nighttime. We're going to be doing also some yoga. So it's not just work, it's play, okay? All right. And the next Braveheart Nation Q&A will be on Tuesday, July the 31st at 10 a.m. And then on August the 7th, it'll be at 3 p.m. We're only going to do one Braveheart Nation. And like this week would be 10 a.m., the next week 7 p.m. And we'll keep on doing it that way, so that our overseas people will be able to call in with their questions. And also Dr. Tony Amanas will be here with us on August the 2nd at 3 p.m. That would be Thursday for everybody, okay? All right. And Doc Talk, which is my show, which I'll be doing, will be all about the 8 secrets of total detox for the human body on August the 1st, Wednesday, okay, at 3 o'clock. All shows are starting at 3 o'clock, starting from this point onward, to make sure that we don't go overtime and that people can spend time with their family, okay? All right. And everybody, I'll just say this once. If you haven't tried our daily cleansing tea, you can get a half a month free, okay? And all you have to do is pay the shipping. So a half a month free of our daily cleansing tea if you want to try it out. And you can also get my Healthy to 100 book free, and all you do is pay the shipping. So if you want to get those two and get yourself started, go right ahead. And if you go to docofdetoxshow.com, you will see all the show schedule for Doc Talk Q&A, Braveheart Nation, Clayton's Classroom, which is all about water, all about structured water, everything you ever needed to know. Energy Medicine is a new show we're doing about how we are energy light beings, and all the new technology that's coming out that we can, because you have to understand that everything you eat and drink leaves the body. It's only the frequency that stays behind. And if you know who you really are, then you'd know that you're an energy light being. And as Einstein stated is that energy medicine would be the future medicine. Well, guess what? The future's here. And then Hope for Cancer with Dr. Tony Jimenez. And last but not least, PetStar with Dr. Marlene Siegel. Hi, Marlene. Let's start. So what do we've got on the agenda for all our listeners today?
Well, we started talking about diet and nutrition, and it's such a big topic that I think we really just need to spend a little bit more time on it because that's the foundation of the rest of our health program. Is that okay with you?
Absolutely. And take it away. And I'd love to hear what you've got to say. And let's roll it out. And just remember, the phone number is 888-570-9445. Hey, you know what? I don't know why, but everybody tells me they're scared to call. Please, we want to hear your voice. And you know what? I need you to find your voice. This is all about showing up, growing up, waking up. Okay? So try that number out. Go ahead, Dr. Siegel.
Awesome. So let's talk a little bit about how to create a diet in today's day and age, because it is expensive to feed organic. It's expensive to feed ourselves organic. The interesting part is that if we all started pushing for that, the price would come down because the demand would be there. So I think we need to get past the hurdle of, is it really more expensive? Because when you add the cost of broke care, when these animals get sick, nobody just says, oh, well, let me just chunk them in and get a new model. They're going to spend the money to find out what's wrong, and then they're going to go through the treatments and the time off of work. So you really spend a lot more money treating the dis-ease than we would if we spent the money and gave them a species appropriate diet. But many people don't understand what that looks like, because the generations that are coming up now, all they've ever known was processed foods. You remember what a belief system is. A belief system is a thought we keep repeating. Well, if you've grown up and all you ever saw your parents feed your dog or your cat was kibble diets and canned food, then you would grow up with the belief system that that's actually food. We know it's not. We know it's frankenfood. But we have to leave that paradigm shift and really move into a different space where we stopped and said, what has changed in the way of food? Well, kibble's been out for a long time and canned food's been out for a long time. But the real game changer has been the hormones, chemicals, pesticides, and of course the genetically modified ingredients. They have taken the dis-ease to a whole new level. I was doing some research for a talk I'm giving in a couple of months, and I came across in the World Guinness Book of Records. Do you know what the oldest cat recorded is?
No, I don't. Go ahead. I'd love to hear.
38 years old.
Oh.
And there was another cat in the same household that lived to be, well, he was actually 38 and 3 days. And then there was another cat that was 34 years old. And the owner is a plumber, and he just fed his cats real food. They hunted, they went outside, and they got their little squirrels and birds and stuff like that. But he supplemented them with real food. And they lived to be 34 and 38 years of age.
Marlene, Dr. Siegel, I have a question for you.
Yeah.
If we actually took a look at our lifestyle, do you actually believe that people can't afford to feed their pets really good food? I mean, you know what? When I go and I do what's called doctor in the house, where I actually, in the area that I live in, I'll actually come into somebody's house. We'll go through their fridge. We'll go through their cupboard. And you wouldn't believe the amount of money that's wasted on GMO food, processed food. And I'm talking about that stuff is not cheap, okay? People like to think it's cheap, but it adds up because it's empty food, so you're always eating. So actually, that's not true. So you're not feeding yourself. So when people say, I can't afford something, are they really saying they can't afford it, Dr. Siegel? Or are they saying that they're not willing to sacrifice other things that are a little bit lower vibrational and introduce higher vibrational things into their life? Because really, if we were to take a look at all the things that we spend money on that are toxic for ourselves, I think we'd have a lot of money left in our pocket.
Oh, that is the truest statement I've heard all day. Absolutely. We waste so much money on things that have no value, things that are really not serving us. Now, I don't even own a television in my house, but for those people who spend so much of their time sitting in front of a boob tube and watching really low vibrational things, that is such a waste. And they're spending money on cable and well, I'm not going to get judgmental on where they spend their money, but to answer your question, yes, everybody really can afford it. You just have to decide where you're spending your dollars. And that's a choice. Like some people want to spend it on clothes and jewelry. Some people want to spend it on travel, and everybody has their place that they want to spend their money. But at the end of the day, when these animals get sick, they really don't just say, oh, well, no big deal. They really do start to prioritize, and they now spend the money to try to get them better when we could have prevented it.
Yes,
So
Doctor.
we just now saw that we have cats that can live into their late 30s. There's a dog also recorded in Australia that lived to be 30. And just a few years ago, just within the past 20 years, dogs used to live to be 17 on average. They're now not making it past 11 on average. And a few that do make it past that are so poor in condition. They're arthritic. The quality of life is really poor. So
Okay,
we
so
do have to stop and look at our lifestyle.
Dr. Siegel, can I ask you another question? Do you
I love when we ask
believe
questions.
do you believe that a person is only capable of sharing what they already have? And the way I mean about that is, if a person lives with a 911 emergency attitude where they don't look after themselves until they get into trouble, then they're going to do that for their pets as well. And we already know that 8 out of 10 people live with a 911 emergency kind of health care. So how how would we ever reach people and to change their belief systems? You said that you were going to come out with a course. Now, do you have a course that's for the majority of the population, not for professionals, but for somebody that could actually help them change their belief systems and the way they think and the way that they act and treat their pets?
Yes, it's in editing. I'm hoping within the next couple of months it'll be ready for release. I do have a free ebook if people want to start somewhere. I would download the free ebook because it gives them a foundational start.
Okay.
And then we'll have their email address. And when the course comes out, we'll make it available to them as well.
Beautiful. We have a caller. And while we're waiting for the caller, Dr. Siegel, do you have an email address that they can get that book from, or do you have like a Dr. Siegel library or something they can download this from?
Yeah, they can go to holistichealingvet.com. Holistic, HOLISTIC, healing, HEALING, vet, be like in Victor, E Edward T Tom.com.
Okay, we have a caller.
It's free.
Caller, go ahead. We have Dr. Siegel on the line and awaiting your question.
Hi, Dr. Siegel. It's Kim here. You've helped me out with my dog, Rico, and I have a question for you. But I first wanted to stop and say thank you so much for allowing my granddaughter, Malia, to come and work with you at your clinic for a day. She's only 14. She wants to know if she wants to be a veterinarian, and you opened up your office to her. Thank you so much for that. But I have a question.
She was awesome.
First of all, I have to say that you told me, I introduced you to Rico. I showed you he was having a problem with his, he was scratching all the time. He was itching all the time. And you said, stop feeding him food with grain in it. I said, okay. So I went and found some grain-free foods. And lo and behold, he stopped itching. So that was awesome. But the other day I went through the drive-thru at the bank, and they wanted to give him a dog bone because, he's so cute. And I gave it to him, and then, of course, he started itching again. Are they really that bad? That's my question. Are they really that bad?
Well, let's talk about what we're giving these animals. So here you have what appears to be an innocuous biscuit. But if you knew it was in that biscuit, does it have genetically modified ingredients? Does it have gluten in it? It only takes literally one bite of one meal to set off the inflammatory mediators in the gut and create that leaky gut again. So it isn't like you have to consume volumes of it. You just have to put a little bit in, especially for Rico, because he was already sensitized. So now you put that antigen back into his body, and his body goes, oh, I know what that is. And it has an immediate reaction, and it lasts for days.
Yeah, even when we talk about human beings, once their intestines have been on fire, their intestines are on red alert. And, the inflammation and the pain and the symptoms will be gone. But Dr. Siegel, just like human beings, when it comes to pets, you're saying that just one little bit of something just re-triggers the whole memory of what's going on. And now we're back into that 911 emergency alert.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I know we talked a little bit on the last show about diet, and the ideal diet is a raw diet. That is what is species appropriate. This is food that has not been cooked, but it's balanced with the right amount of bone and fat and organ meat and muscle meat. That's your ideal, but not everybody can do that. And so if you can feed at least a proportion of raw, we know that that's better. And then if you can't do any raw, at least going to an organic food would be better than nothing. And of course, grain free. And everybody has to be able to do at least that much.
And the grains out there now, most of them are GMO, aren't they? So
Absolutely. Yeah. In the feed industry, it's over 90% is GMO corn or soy.
what about glyphosate? How's that racking up for pets?
Well, it's the most destructive product that can go into the belly. So not only is it blowing massive holes into the GI lining, and again, it doesn't take lots of it. It's just talking about a heart guard and neck guard. These are heartworm preventatives that are chewable. Oh, please do not give those to your pet. They make heartworm preventatives that are non-chewable. That's what we had in the olden days. But in order to make these products palatable, they add all this genetically modified, horrible stuff to it. So once a month, I have owners that are feeding healthy, species-appropriate diet, but then they give the heart guard, and they don't realize that it's like blowing up holes inside that dog's intestines. So here's the take-home point. We have to be discerning about everything that passes the dog's or cat's lips. That's food, that's treats, that's the kind of water that they're drinking. That is so important. And when you're not sure, read the ingredients. Anything that's processed, it's processed. It's enzymatically dead. There's nothing to aid in digestion. Really going to cause that animal a problem, because now you're taxing their pancreas to do all the digestive work. And they just can't keep up with that in their lifetime.
And probably the actual the little biscuits that they give away and are free, we know there hasn't been a lot of money put into it or a lot of heart, or they wouldn't be free.
No, they're very toxic.
Yeah.
And if you saw the ingredient label, and that's the other thing, is a lot of these companies, they're not regulated. So they can put natural on the label. That means nothing. In fact, when I see the word natural, that triggers me to think there's probably something bad in there. Like MSG, that's a great example. Mm-hmm. MSG has a gazillion different names, including natural flavor. And so anytime I see that, I'm just going to assume it's MSG and I'm not going to use it. But the preservatives and all the other things, you got to read the fine print.
That's why we're doing this show, because guess what? You got to do more than read the fine print, because there are no laws legislating these people making the food for your pets. They can pretty well just poison them, okay, and get away with it, because everybody lobbies the government. They lobby the government for everything, and guess what? The government can be bought. And we're not going to get into that, but I just want to say that, you know what, if you love your pet, you're going to stand on guard for your pet, because your pet can't make the choices. Just like a child, your pet is counting on you to be awake.
Well, pet food industry is $1 trillion industry. It's so big that General Mills just recently purchased Blue Buffalo for a godly amount of money, like 3 times or 4 times what the company was worth, because they saw that people were flocking to this brand. Now, interestingly, it's still processed foods and it's not organic, but they've done a great job marketing. They did get caught with their pants down, and they were caught putting in ingredients that were not healthy, and they just got caught for that. But the bottom line is we've got to start feeding a species appropriate diet. We have to start demanding it. Otherwise, producers won't make it. So it's us voting with our dollars. It's not hard.
Thank you. Do we still have the caller on?
Yeah, I'm
Kim, are
still
you
on.
still there?
Do you have any other questions, Kim?
Yeah, yeah, you were talking about raw. If you don't mind, I'll go on to the next. You were talking about raw foods, and I'd love to feed my dog and my cat raw foods. I've got a Maine Coon, and I think they live to be really old. Yeah, I'd love to feed them raw foods, but it seems like it's really expensive. Is there what else? What could I do at home? Like, how would I do that at home?
Well, it isn't as expensive as you think it is. If you consider how much money you spend taking them to the vet and treating the illnesses and other money that you spend on medications, if you take that money and you add that, because remember, it's not that you're feeding raw and that's your brand new cost. It's the difference between what the raw cost and what you have been paying. So we're coming out with a raw diet. It should be out very, very soon. It's actually already created and we're just waiting for the labeling. And it'll come out in larger bulk sizes. So that'll make it more economical. And one other thing that you could do that would be really beneficial is we have another product. It hasn't been named yet, but we're going to call it Pet Fuel for right now. And it's all the essential vitamins, minerals, fatty acids, and aminos that are necessary for the body, the pet's body, to do its job. So you could actually take and feed an organic kibble, if that's all you could afford, and add the pet fuel to that, and you will enhance the diet markedly just doing that. And then if you can add a little bit of raw meat in there, or a little leery of chicken, especially that comes from the store because it does have salmonella on it and E. coli. But if you had a grass-fed source of good quality hamburger, that's like an 80-15 or a 70-30 blend, that would be a good thing to add. You can add little bits into the diet.
Dr. Siegel, can you tell us I'd like to know what your product is, and does it come frozen, or how would it go how would you get it to someone?
So our product is coming from the largest distributor of grass-fed meats in the country. It's U.S. Wellness Meats. And the blend, we have two different blends. We have one that is a 70-30 blend, and that means that the ratio of meat to fat, and of course it has the organ meat and the bone in it. And that's going to be the base of the diet, and that would come to you frozen. We have 3-ounce little medallions, we have 8-ounce patties, and then we have 2-pound and 5-pound chubs. So for people who have a lot of animals or bigger animals, the chubs are going to be more economical for them. And it is delivered to your door frozen. And then separately, we have people purchase the pet fuel, and they add the amount varies based on body weight. So, a little small dog would get like 1/8 of a teaspoon mixed into their diet, and it's all whole food. So they're getting absolutely the best nutrition possible. There's no fillers, everything's organic. It has all their vitamins, minerals, fatty acids in the fuel, and now they have a complete diet. I think it's kind of interesting that there is an organization called AFTO, and they were developed, they actually don't have any legal hold, but they are the ones that create the guidelines for pet food. Well, considering our pet foods are now killing our dogs at the rate of 1 out of 1.65 getting cancer and 1 out of 3 cats getting cancer, the rates of obesity and arthritis are just off the charts. I don't know that I want to follow that standard. So we kind of went a little bit off of that and we went to real food with real supplementation, and the owners put it together in the kitchen.
It's amazing. It's amazing how much, or how little, I should say, how little that your pets actually need when you're talking about whole plant-based and concentrated nutrition. Remember that when you're dealing with your pets, everyone, your pet is going to eat less and get more. Okay? And when there's empty foods, your pet's always going to be hungry. So the reality is that the digestive tract is going to be overburdened, the liver is going to be overburdened, and your pet's just going to get fat. And that's not really good for it. But just understand something. Everything is about frequency. So the more pure the food is, the higher frequency it has. When it raises up the frequency of the pet and its cells, then it can't get sick. Remember something. Frequency is like a light switch. It can turn disease on or disease off. And if you don't want your pets to be full of bacteria, viruses, and parasites, then you've got to give them high vibrational foods. End of story. So if you don't want to give them high vibrational foods, then you're going to create a very low integrity terrain and your pet is going to get sick. Am I right, Dr. Siegel?
Well, absolutely.
Okay.
So let's talk a little bit about poop, because poop is like the most amazing subject. So people are used to
We have a
seeing-
caller. Is that okay, Dr. Siegel?
Yeah.
Okay, we have a caller, but hold that thought. Okay, thank you.
Okay.
Caller, go
We're
ahead.
going to come back to poop.
We will. We will. Caller, are you on the line? Hi, caller. Hello, caller. Do you hear us? Okay. So sometimes I guess they don't have good reception or something. So let's go back to you, Dr. Siegel, and then when the caller tries again, we'll see if we can do it for them. Go ahead.
Awesome. So let's talk about poop. Most owners are used to seeing these little hard, dried nuggets coming out of their pets.
Okay.
That is not a health bowel movement. It isn't healthy for us. It's not healthy for them. They should have a very similar bowel movement to a healthy person in that it should slip out kind of like a banana, not leave any runners behind, and it should come out easily without straining. We see animals right now where constipation is a huge issue, particularly in cats. There's a disease called megacolon, and it's where the bowel just gets further and further stretched out. And when you take an x-ray, it looks like there's rocks in their colon. It's really sad, and it is a life-threatening disease. So we really need to start paying attention to what is normal poop for our pets and realizing that these hard, dry nuggets, they may be convenient to pick up, but they're not healthy for the pet. So when we get them on a raw diet, a couple things people come back and say, first of all, the volume that they poop out is so much less. Well, that's because they're not having so much waste product. They're having more nutrition and a lot less waste.
Yeah, your pet's bowel movements is a computer printout, right? You've got to look at that, and that's a printout telling you where your pet stands.
Absolutely, yeah. So you want to have a nice formed, but it's not going to be a lot of volume because there isn't a lot of waste to come out. And then they should have a bowel movement twice a day like we do. Absolutely, because they eat twice a day.
Dr. Siegel, you're really popular. We've got 4 callers. Okay, so let's start off with the first one. Okay? All right. Caller, can you please go ahead? Caller, can you go ahead?
Hello?
Hi.
Hi, I was calling because we have a 12-year-old Cocker Spaniel Poodle mix who has been recently, she eats organic food. We have her on his kitchen, and but she's been recently dealing with cataracts and some glaucoma. And, we give her a lot of supplements, a lot of green powders, mushrooms, probiotics, everything that's really good. But we're trying to figure out what would be best to really fight off or prevent the cataracts and especially the glaucoma from getting worse or and moving forward with that. What would you suggest?
So how long has she been eating an organic diet?
She's been eating an organic diet basically forever. That's always been really, really important to us. She's been doing the Honest Kitchen for maybe several years now, and it's been really good for her. We've been giving her the grain-free and been giving her supplements, and we also like to make sure we feed her like vegetables, like we'll feed her cooked vegetables or cooked meats ourselves too. So that's basically it's been alternating throughout the years, but we've always tried to really make sure that we give her the best that we can.
So has she been eating a raw diet her whole life? An organic raw diet?
I wouldn't say her
A raw
entire
diet
life,
is not cooked.
When she was younger, she was not eating a raw diet This is a little bit more, maybe more recent, in more
Right.
recent years. But you know,
Right.
we always have tried to do like organic. So because
Okay.
we eat organic ourselves too. So we thought it would make sense to do that with our pets.
Absolutely. Well, the cataracts and the glaucoma, the root cause of that is still inflammation. So inflammation being the root cause of all disease, it's going to go to the weakest link of that individual. And in your dog's case, I'm sure there have been other things that you've seen as far as symptoms, but now you have inflammation in the eyes, which you're getting the cataracts, and the glaucoma can be caused by a variety of different things, but most commonly it's the fluid that's building up in the chambers is getting blocked from
Right.
leaving. There's inflammation in there, and then the drainage angle becomes compressed, and the fluid can't get out. So we have to remember that even though you've been doing the right thing for the past couple of years, there's more than one thing that contributes to inflammation, but we're still dealing with the root causes inflammation. And that started a long time ago. So we have the food. What kind of water are you feeding her? What kind of water?
Oh, we give her the same water that we drink. It's like the reverse osmosis filtered water. We just give her the same water that we drink. So.
Okay. Do you add minerals back into that?
We don't. No.
Okay. So
Doc-
anytime you have an imbalance, it's going to cause a stress on the body. And when you're feeding a water that is stripped of all minerals, the body has to compensate for that. It needs its minerals. So we have a deficiency there. If you've been feeding processed foods at some point, that inflammation is in there. We're seeing a tremendous amount of heavy metals showing up in our patients. And that's from the variety of heavy metals that they're exposed to in the environment, in their water, in their food, in the canning process. All of that is contributing. And then, of course, if you're not giving a really good probiotic, like something fermented and something from nature, like a kefir or some kind of a fermented vegetables, then they're not getting the replenishment of the bacteria in the gut. So now your microbiome is off. So it's not one thing that creates health. It's putting the whole picture together with good digestion, good gut health, good microbiome, clean, healthy water that's structured and has minerals, and that they're getting all the essential vitamins, minerals, and fatty acids that the body needs. We know that the food we've been eating since the 1930s has been mineral depleted. So if you're not putting minerals, healthy, organic, well, or all minerals are organic, but if you're not getting a good source of minerals into her diet, and likely is she's mineral deficient, which is also going to contribute to inflammation.
If I could,
Now, what kind of?
if I could add something, we had a Burmese mountain dog, and it was getting glaucoma and cataracts. And what I did is I have a product that it's a humic fulvic product, and it's the only humic fulvic you can put in your eyes. And we actually put it into the dog's eyes. And the other thing is, and that really helped. We use that with a lot of our patients here to reverse cataracts and glaucoma, actually. And the other thing is reverse osmosis cannot be found in nature, if I can say this to you, and you just got sucker punched. You can't, if reverse osmosis has a 2% hydration at the cell level. So it doesn't matter how much water you drink, you're always going to be dehydrated. So when you use structured water, I just want you to know this too, that when you use reverse osmosis water, in every water droplet, okay, there are 25 to 3,000 molecules in every water droplet. Your body has to break all that apart because it's called an aquaporin channel, and that water droplet must come in only a single molecule at a time. When you're drinking reverse osmosis water, it doesn't even show up in nature. Your body can't break it down, so you're never going to get hydrated. And whenever you drink it, you actually feel heavy in your stomach as if you've eaten incorrectly because water needs to be digested. When you structure water, that brings it down from 2,500 to 3,000 to actually only 6 molecules. That 6 molecule droplet actually sends off a frequency to the aquaporin. And when the frequency comes back from the aquaporin, it actually opens up that 6 molecule, and guess what? It goes in like a choo-choo train. So I would tell you to make sure that you get Dr. Siegel's nutritional supplement, okay, the fuel, and then get your dog on structured water, and then come back and tell me what you're doing, okay? And you might want to look at our humic fulvic drops because it's easy to put it in the dog's eyes, because I had to do that with our dog.
Okay, now
Those are
where
fantastic
my
suggestions.
only questions are where would I get structured water, and then also too, what is the website that I can get the human fulvic drops as well?
Well, you can give us a call if you want at the Doc of Detox at 855-900-4544, and we can talk about that more if you want. But understand this: water in nature, whether it's from a waterfalls, okay, fast-moving river, or the rain, is all structured. That's why our ancestors would only drink water from these things, okay? So now that we've left nature, we have to duplicate her. So I need you to understand that. That's why we have Dr. Siegel on, is because she brings pets back to nature. And if the further we get away from nature, the sicker they're going to be. Dr. Siegel?
Absolutely. Oh, that's so well said. Thank you. Yeah.
Okay,
We
thank you.
we try to outsmart nature, and we try to do things that are what we think is going to be better. But really, if we just follow the model of what nature provides for us, if you're really not sure what to feed, watch what used to be Mutual Omaha Wild Kingdom. I think now it's National Geographic or some kind of a show where they're actually filming animals in the wild. What do they do? And if we start modeling after that and quit adding all these other toxins into the environment, our pets would be so much healthier as we would. So yes, look at your food, look at your water, look at your environment, see what kind of toxins that you have in the environment, because there's other things that are creating inflammation in this dog's body, and it's just showing up in the eyes. The more you can do to reduce inflammation and stop polluting her body, giving her the nutrients that she actually needs to do her job, the better she's going to be. Did that help?
Yes, that definitely helped. Thank you.
Well,
You're welcome.
Thank you for calling.
Thank
We have
you for
another
the
caller.
question.
Hi, caller. Hi, caller. Hello. We can hear them. They can't hear us. Okay, we're going to move on.
Hello.
Hi. How you doing? Can you hear me?
Oh, probably.
Yeah, it's you.
I don't know if my name is Victoria. I don't know if you hear me now because I'm confused a little bit.
Well, don't be confused, but just speak a little louder because we can hear you, but just speak louder for our audience, okay? Thank you. I need everyone when they call in to speak good and loud, and it'll be great. Thank you. And you might want to turn down your computer because we're getting an echo back, okay?
Yes, okay.
All right, so turn your computer down and then speak nice and loud. We'd love to answer all your questions.
Thank you so much. Okay, I'm trying to ask my questions. First, when it comes to raw diet for a cat, for example, because I have a cat, how to avoid parasites and bacterial infection. This is my first concern when it comes to raw diet. For a cat who's never, actually she's never been on raw diet, and if to consider what your advice, that's my first question: how to avoid any parasitic or bacterial infection from the raw meat.
Okay, so if you are using a quality grade product that has been through high pressure pasteurization, you won't have to worry about any of the bacteria. So if that's your concern, I would lean towards products that have gone through high pressure pasteurization. It's called HPP. Our diet is going to be an HPP diet. And that way we know that there's no Listeria, E. coli, or Salmonella in the food. The real big question for you is going to be, how do you convert onto a raw diet? Is that your second question?
My second question is, have you ever heard about Morgellons disease? Because unfortunately, while it's not an established disease in the medical society, it exists, and it exists, humans are affected, but also their pets. It's true for me too.
So you and your
Dr.
pet,
Wolfe,
you and
can you
your
repeat the
pet,
question?
Morgellons
sorry?
disease.
Morgellons disease.
I'm not familiar with that in animals.
Okay, thank you. Okay,
Did you have
thank
another
you.
question?
Yes, if possible. This is right now, this cat, this is actually my mom's cat, but now I inherited this cat. She's about 9 years probably. And yes, she is an indoor cat, and she is, as far as she is very picky, she doesn't want any food that I offer her except for what she actually chose, and this is Nutramax cat food, wet food cans. It's something in between high and low grade of commercial food. It's not the worst food, and it's not organic either. And now, yes, something is wrong with the cat. And I couldn't bring her to the vet because I don't know how to actually physically put her in the carrier. But I'm pretty sure she has inflammation, intestinal most likely, because she has kind of diarrhea or loose stool for a certain period of time. And when I was trying to give her natural antibiotic just in case, which is ionized silver, which I take for myself too. This is the liquid silver, and it works well for many different cases as antibiotics. So I was giving her some. Yes, it would help her, but only temporarily. And of course, I don't know even how much I can give it to her for how long. And so she doesn't have parasites. At least her stool test doesn't confirm parasites. So I'm afraid maybe she really has something, like you said, leaky gut, or I don't know how to. I understand I have to bring her to the vet physically, but maybe it's good to try to start her on different diet, and maybe at least to try to introduce her to organic, as you said, organic wet food cans to start with.
So what I want to start out with in addressing your concern is that the entire gut, the microbiome, the bacteria that live there, all of this whole system is designed to work a certain way. And when we start interrupting that system and we don't put it back into balance, then just throwing something on top of the fire isn't going to help. So imagine that you have a river near your home and you see that the river is polluted, and you decide that you're going to go down and you're going to fix that river. You're going to go down there with crew and clean, and you're going to clean every weekend. But if nobody sent a message upstream to the people who lived higher that they need to stop putting in the pollution, then you're never going to get ahead of the game. Does that make sense?
Yes, sure.
All right. So what's happening is you're feeding a diet that is literally creating inflammation in this kitty's gut. And she could tolerate it for a time, and now she's getting to the point where she can't tolerate it, like a person with Crohn's or inflammatory bowel disease. And so everything that's coming in is now setting off fires She got fires going everywhere in her gut. Over time, that inflammation will get worse, and it's going to lead to other dis-ease, whether it's cancer, because cancer rates in cats are 1 out of 3 right now. Whatever that comes out to, it's going to get into be a bigger problem because you're just creating more inflammation. So what we want to try to do is step back from the picture and say, what can we do differently that will help restore the gut to the normal function that it was designed to do? Now, that starts out with having to convert them into a better diet. Well, that's not easy for cats. They've been given all kinds of salts and sugars and addictive ingredients to make them eat this kibble to begin with. And now here we are trying to change their diet, and they're creatures of habit. So they're going to say, they're going to look at a raw diet and they're going to go, oh, well, first of all, I don't know what that is. And secondly, and more importantly, is their gut feels terrible. If anybody in the audience listening has ever had acid reflux or heartburn or a bad stomach, you know that you want to eat, but the thought of putting food down there or the first thing that drops down there just makes you feel worse. That's what these animals are feeling like. They have horrible, horrible guts and their digestion is so off. So they'll eat because they have to, but they have no interest in trying something new. When they have a healthy gut, a good microbiome, the good bacteria, they've healed the leaky gut, these guys are ravenous. I mean, really look at a National Geographics and watch a wild cat eating in the wild. They don't walk past food, right? They devour it. There's saliva going. They're, it looks so appealing because they really make eating fun, and they don't pass up food. But our animals have been so damaged. Their guts are so damaged. They have no microbiome left, and so their appetites are really poor. And eventually, they start to go off their feed, which is really dangerous for a cat. Is your kitty overweight?
I'm sorry.
Is she overweight? Is she fat?
Some overweight, not really drastically, but yes.
Okay, so when they're overweight, we know that they have a problem with Candida. Candida is a yeast organism, and they have to have the Candida because she's eating so much sugar from the processed foods. The Candida is there almost saving her life because you have to get rid of that sugar. You can't maintain all that sugar. So the Candida is there creating inflammation, creating challenges in the gut, and she has all this overgrowth. So you really have this complex problem of a lack of correct nutrients, a lack of proper protein, a lack of digestive enzymes, because in processed foods that are heated above 105 degrees, there's no enzymes left in the food. So the only thing she can digest with is her pancreas. Well, the reason she's gaining weight is because her pancreas can't keep up with that sugar load. The insulin just finally says, hey, I give up. I'm just going to become insulin resistant. And it starts packing all that extra calorie into the fat cells, along with all the toxins. Does that make sense?
Yes, sure.
So the only way you're really going to fix the problem is to start to heal her gut, going through changing her diet, which has to be done very slowly and very carefully. I'll give a couple tips right now if anybody does want to start converting a cat or a dog, but cat in particular. We have a tendency to feed our cats free range. We just fill the bowl, and the next time it's empty, you come back and you empty it again. Cats weren't designed to eat that way. They were designed to get up in the morning at dawn, hunt, kill something, and they didn't eat the rest of the day. And then at dusk, if they were hungry, they went back out and hunted again, and they ate at dusk. So they had a good 12-hour fast in between each meal. That's really, really important for these cats. They also ate a diet that was mostly protein with a lot of fat and very little carbohydrate, like super low carbohydrate. They ate little mice. Now we're feeding them a diet that's enzymatically dead. It's high in sugar. You'd be shocked to know that in most of these processed diets for cats, the sugar content is anywhere from 40 to 65% sugar. And there's very little meat in there, which is what they're biologically designed to eat. And they have almost no water in their diet. They're used to getting 70% of the water from their diet. When they ate a live animal, that animal was 70% water. So now we're feeding them a dry diet what that does to the kidneys is it concentrates everything that's being put through the kidneys. I usually use an analogy. If you had a cup of water and you had a swimming pool and you put the same amount of toxin in both, which one would be more harmful? Obviously the cup of water, because it's more concentrated. Well, now we take these kitties, we put them on a kibble diet. They don't have enough moisture coming through. So now everything passing through that kidney is more concentrated. So any little toxin is going to have a bigger, badder effect on those kidneys, which is why the number one cause of death in our cats right now is kidney disease, with cancer right behind it. So you want to feed your cat twice a day. Don't be leaving food out all the time. Once they get used to eating twice a day, then you can start to add little bits of, whether it's freeze-dried organic or it's raw, but just little tiny, tiny bits now that they're a little hungrier and they know that mealtime is not going to be grazing time. Now there's a whole bunch of different ways that we can do it, but this is usually where I start with most of our cats. Start with feeding them twice a day, and then start to take away a little bit of the bad food and mix in a tiny bit of the good food until they start to eat that. And then once they start to eat that well, then you take away more of the bad food and you increase the good food. And you just keep doing that slowly until you get them off of the bad food.
So you're saying, Dr. Siegel, that intermittent fasting is a good thing for your pets, and that, we have gotten to the point that we're snackers, so we make our pets into snackers.
Oh, absolutely. In fact, the dog that lived to be 30 that I started the show with,
Yep.
they asked the owner of that dog what was her secret. Well, she lived on a farm. She herself would induce intermittent fasting. There were days where she just didn't eat, and he didn't worry about it. She ate placentas when the cows had their babies. She drank raw milk along with good quality clean water in Australia. And she lived to be 30, but she ate a real food diet.
Well, caller, do you have any other questions, or have we answered them?
Actually, thank you very much for your answers. So, do you suggest that I start a little bit with this food, the raw diet food, right now to introduce it to her, along with her old wet food, little by little?
Well, if she's sick, you want to get her into a veterinarian and have her worked up, find out at least what's going on. I'm very cautious to take a cat that's already sick and try to change their diet, because it just can send them over the edge. So I don't know that I would do that until you know what she has and you get that under control. But the hallmarks of what you're looking for once you get her feeling better is start to work towards a more species appropriate diet. Make sure your water source is clean, that you're using a good supplement like our pet fuel, which is not, it's a whole food supplement. It's the vitamins, minerals, fatty acids that they need to have in their diet, but it's not in their diet. And then the last thing would be, of course, good probiotics. You need to rebuild that gut microbiome. And I like to use a raw kefir product. It's not the same as the kefir that you buy in the stores. The stuff sold in the store is more like a yogurt. And you want to either find somebody who's making homemade kefir or consider making it yourself. And we can help you with that.
Okay, so Dr. Siegel, how do people get on a list so that they can be notified when you finally get your product on the shelf?
The easiest way is to download our ebook,
Okay.
the holistichealingvet.com.
Okay.
That's the easiest way for us to be able to have contact with them. And that gives them a fabulous resource for starting to get the animals healthier. It's a 5-step process of learning how to stop polluting the body, how to restore the ingredients that the animal needs, all the essential ingredients, how to heal the gut, how to detoxify, and then ultimately how to restore the mitochondria, the energy production of the body. Those are the 5 steps.
Okay, so everybody that's listening out there, if you know people with pets, then send them this link, okay? And can you say that again, Dr. Siegel?
holistichealingvet.com.
Good. So you know what? Guess what? 5 steps. It's not going to overload you. It's the way you start. Gentle baby steps, just like she's saying. You don't want to put the pet into shock, okay? When you change things too fast. How is it like when you change things too fast in your life, you're going to go into shock, right? So we just can't change that fast because we have belief systems and our mind has to accept something. And that means we have to just do gentle baby steps so we don't fail. So you want to get this download and start there. And then also you'll be on her email list, okay? And caller, how's that? Do you have any other questions?
Thank you very much, Dr. Siegel. And yes, I'll try to also be on your email list.
That's the best thing to do.
I look forward to hearing how this comes out. Wishing you all the best.
Thank you so much. All the best to you.
And all the best to you too,
Thank
sweetie.
you.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Omi, do we have another caller? Boy, I'll tell you, I just want to thank everybody for being so patient because we don't want to rush our callers, just like we're not going to rush you. This is about you. This is about your pet. So we really do want to answer your questions. So the next caller. G'day, caller. Are you there? Hello?
I'm online now?
Yeah, you are. And if you could turn down your computer while we're doing the call, it'll be great because there will be some feedback,
Hi,
okay?
Dr. Siegel. How are you?
Hey,
I'm wonderful. How are you?
I'm pretty good. I don't know if you remember. This is Paul from Miami. Long time ago, yeah, I have the pet that I tried to get you to have the cure and everything else. Unfortunately, the dog died, and now we're trying to take care of the other 2 dogs that we presently have. Dr. Siegel, if a Chihuahua has the tendency of primarily having, as a small dog, more than the other breeds, cancer, if the parents or the parents have had cancer before?
I don't think there's a breed predilection. Let me ask a question. Were you the one that we got the Magnosphere? We hooked you up with the guy with the Magnosphere?
Yes, I think that you were.
I remember
referring
you.
to me, yes.
I remember you. Okay, so no, Chihuahuas don't have a higher predilection for cancer. And really, cancers are only 10% genetic in animals, and probably the same for people. It's all epigenetics. It's all lifestyle. It's the things that we're doing that is creating the cancer. When I started practicing I've been practicing for 34 years. And when I started practicing, we would see 1 or 2 cancer cases a year. It was so little that I never really learned about cancer. But in the past 10 to 15 years, it has become so high. I see 10 to 14 cases a week.
Wow.
So it's been a big shift. And a lot of that has to do with the level of toxicity that we're dealing with. We have drinking water now that is so contaminated, over 60,000 chemicals that are carcinogens in our water. We have food that is so highly contaminated with genetically modified ingredients, hormones, chemicals, pesticides. We live in a society where we are nothing but stress vehicles, and our pets are trained to that. I mean, when I'm doing a consult and I'm asking people, like I describe the sad day, Dr. Wolfe, I did this at Truth About Cancer. I don't think you were in the room that day, but I described not only the SAD diet, which is the standard American diet, but the standard American day. And that's a day where you wake up sleep deprived and you're rushing all day long to deal with clients and employees and employers and family problems and pet problems. And then you have to get lunch because you didn't pack your lunch. And so you eat the SAD diet and you get home at the end of the day and you have to deal with money issues and you have family conflicts and you have all this stuff constantly. And then you want to veg out in front of the television so that you unwind, but you're getting all the EMF and you're affecting your pineal gland and you're messing up your melatonin and you're messing up your sleep cycle. So you go to bed too late, you wake up at 3 o'clock in the morning, you have to pee because you're in adrenal fatigue. And then you finally fall back asleep and the alarm goes off again and you got to wake up and do it all over again. That's a day of nonstop stress. That's the sad day. the standard American day. And almost everybody can relate to at least a good portion of that kind of a day. Our pets are in training to that. So when we ask the question, why are our pets getting cancer? Well, look at the cancer rates in humans. It's 1 out of 2 males and 1 out of 3 females. Dogs are the only mammal on the planet that have a higher cancer rate than humans. Of any mammal, they're the highest cancer rates. And what's even more astounding, there was a study done by the World Pet Organization. I don't remember the name. Anyhow, they did a study that spanned 44 years. It ended in 2014, and it was a 44-year study. And they found that there has been a 58% reduction in species that have a spine, so vertebrate species. 58% of wildlife we're talking about has been reduced in population in the last 44 years. So a lot of these species are reaching extinction, and found that the animals that live near rivers and streams had a 78% reduction in their species numbers. And they think it's because the water is so polluted and these animals are drinking from those rivers and streams that we're dumping all of our pollution in. So it's not a breed, it's not a species. This is a universal problem. We are killing our planet. If you don't get anything from this conversation other than you have to be more discerning with what you're doing in your life, with what you're doing to your pets' lives, because all of that is compounded and affecting the wildlife. It's affecting our planet. Did I answer your question?
Yes, you did. Thank you so much. And one other question, more or less related to the same situation, even though you just said that it's only about 10%. Now these days, pets receive like a gene test, so similar to, let's say, 23andMe, which is doing for the humans and trying to prevent ahead of time, more or less, what possibilities could be happening in later years to a pet. Is such a thing now these days or not?
There's not a lot of gene mutation studies that are out there, but I still will say that I think that the gene mutations that we're seeing are caused by the toxins that we're putting into our bodies. So knowing that just glyphosate alone it's in our rainwater. And we know that that is literally going into our bodies and not just causing damage, it's changing our DNA. So I have to wonder, and I believe that a lot of the DNA damage that we're seeing, we're actually causing it.
Okay, I see. But by the way, we feed a little bit of, I don't know if I could say the brand, but Royal Canin is what more or less we feed them. And along with that, we feed them, believe it or not, they are dogs, but we feed them salmon. And they love salmon, natural salmon that we buy at Whole Foods and everything else. It's unreal. And they get so crazy when they smell the salmon, which is supposedly be a fish more likely for the cats and not necessarily for the dogs. Is there any particular reason why the dogs would love so much salmon and how good that is for them?
It's very good for them, especially if it's a wild caught. Certainly don't use any farm raised. And it's real food. So thank goodness that they still have a good enough gut that they feel like they want to eat real food. Anytime you can get away from processed foods, as much as possible, I would wish 100%, and we would not feed any processed foods because it's always causing inflammation. It's causing yeast overgrowth. It's causing the microbiome to be damaged. So the more you can feed wholesome, whole food, and hopefully it needs to be balanced because animals didn't eat just meat. They ate organs and they had bone and they had fat, they had hair. So it's really about having a balanced diet and supporting that gut with the right vitamins, minerals, fatty acids, and bacteria, good bacteria like from a kefir. If people just did that much, if you've had a species appropriate diet, and
The
you made
probiotics
sure that you had a good
we use
probiotic
as a
going in
human,
and you
are
had all
they
your
any
vitamins,
good
minerals,
for
fatty
them
acids in a
too?
healthy water, you would get rid of over 80% of the diseases that we see.
Okay, okay. And the fact that the question also was that the probiotics that we use as humans can be also given to the pets.
You can give them. The microbiome is different for our pets than it is for people. So your ideal is to always use something that's fermented. Anytime it comes from nature, instead of coming from a laboratory, you're going to have a much healthier outcome. So most people have access to getting some kind of fermented foods. It needs to be organic, of course, but you want to feed a product that is going to help restore the microbiome and offer the diversity. So think about where they got their probiotics in the wild. They killed an animal, they tore through the abdomen, and they tore through the intestines. Well, not every single animal that they ate had the same microflora. They certainly had some similarities, but they were able to get a diverse population. And that's what we're looking for. When you're getting something that comes from a laboratory, it is a certain number of organisms, and you really don't know by the time it actually gets to you, are the organisms even active and alive? I did an experiment many years ago where I was going to make sauerkraut, and I used different probiotics that I added to the blend, and I found that the ones that I used, commercial probiotics, the little canned powder stuff, they fermented at the same rate that the product would have fermented without anything, like just their natural bacteria, natural salt. There are some cultures that I was able to add, like I added kefir, and that stuff took off like wildfire. I mean, it was fermenting, the liquid was coming up out of the jars within a matter of 24 hours. So that told me that the amount of bacteria and the flora that was in these powders probably weren't very robust.
I see. And one final question, Dr. Siegel, if I may. Why dogs sleep so much? I mean, is it something wrong with them, the fact that they sleep that much, or is something naturally on them?
Did you ask why do they sleep so much?
Right.
Well, their natural pattern is to rest in between their activity. The way you ask the question, if you look at animals in the wild, they play hard, they eat, and they sleep. Sleep is when we heal. So I think when an animal is sleeping, it should be a good thing. Now, if it's a situation where we have an indoor dog and they barely have any exercise, they don't go out for good walks, they're not having a ball thrown for them, they're not exercising, and then they get fat and lazy, that's a different scenario. In fact, I'll use this opportunity to talk about hormesis, if that's okay. Hormesis is a term that is used to describe when there are stressors on the body that cause the body to get it causes free radical formation. And when it does that, the body then has to respond. So hormetic stressors for our ancestors on the human side was extreme temperature. They'd either have freezing weather and then they had really hot summers, or they had periods where they couldn't get food. And so they had a natural fasting. And so that was a hormetic stressor. And of course, just the day-to-day working out in the sun and having to do the hard labor that they did, that was also a hormetic stressor. And our bodies were designed to thrive on that. Our pets did the same thing. I had a lady say to me the other day, it's too hot for my dog to go outside. And I'm thinking, that's where they came from. They lived outside. But now we have these climate controlled environments where our temperature doesn't go past 68 to 75, and we don't have any extreme temperatures that we're exposed to. Our dogs get fed every 12 hours or more if they're grazing, so they really don't even get a natural fast in there. And they don't have any exercise. They're not out there doing high intensity anything for the most part for the average pet owner. And what that means to the body is the body goes, wow, we don't have to have all these energy production centers, all the mitochondria. We don't have to have that many in our body because we're not using them. So the mitochondria numbers go down, the amount of energy that's produced goes down, and then you start to get mitochondrial dysfunction, which is the underlying cause of why we get disease. So what we really need to be doing is creating a more natural lifestyle where we get outside and we do exercise and we have intermittent fasting, not for cats, by the way, only 12 hours. But for the rest of us, we need to get out and do more stuff. Exercise alone is a hormetic stressor. And when people go to the gym and they're exercising, they're pumping and they're building up their muscles, well, that's what they're doing. They're creating a stress on the muscle, which creates a form of inflammation, which makes the body then respond to heal that. So we need to have those hormetic stressors in our life. We do it artificially. I guess it's not really artificial, but we do it with our therapies when we use our Magnosphere, when we use ozone, when we use our Theragem. Those are all instruments that we use to simulate a form of hormesis so the body has a chance to respond. At the end of the day, we don't heal anything. It's the body that heals. We just set up the environment for it to do so.
Yeah, and we definitely need to have conscious, energetic owners, because when we don't have conscious, energetic owners for our pets, they become depressed, they become lazy, and when the mitochondria don't work efficiently anymore, then you're going to see that your pet's going to get dementia just like you.
Wow,
They do it.
unbelievable.
And cognitive dysfunction disease is a huge issue in our animals, and it has so much to do with the environment and lifestyle.
Well, great. Thank you so much, Dr. Siegel. I appreciate very much indeed all of the answers that you have given us, and I hope that it's also helpful for a lot of audience that they are listening to the program. Thank you, Doctor. You too.
Well, thank you for calling
Thank
in
you.
and remembering me. I remember you very clearly.
Okay, thank you, Dr. Siegel. I do remember you too very kindly. Thank you.
Thank you. Sending much
Take
love.
care.
Okay,
Thanks.
we'll take one more caller, and then we'll have to wrap it up for today. But it's just showing us how many people need help with their pets, and how important Dr. Siegel's information is. So let's just go to the next caller, Omi, and this will be the last caller. And listen, I want to thank everybody for calling in today. That's just been beautiful. This is what makes the show. Remember, this is your show. If you don't call, we don't have a show. You call, we give you answers, or I should say Dr. Siegel's going to give you the answers, and then you're going to have a healthier pet. So, don't be shy and don't be timid. So we'll be back here in 2 weeks, but in 2 weeks when we do come back, it'll be 1 hour earlier. We'll be starting 3 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. Okay, so Omi, could you bring on our last caller? Thank you. Hi, caller.
Hi. Thank you so much for taking my call. I have a question. I live in Texas, and this year we seem to be really having some issues with fleas. Is there something that you recommend that is kind of safer for them? We've tried other things in the past, and this year nothing seems to be working. So I didn't know if there was a more holistic way that we should be approaching this.
That's a great question, and it really is a challenging answer. When we live in a state where fleas are a major problem, using essential oils, using diatomaceous earth, using some of the things that people can get away with in areas where fleas are not so bad, that works. But when you live in Florida or you live in Texas where fleas are horrific, these guys survived the dinosaur era. Okay, so they are really tenacious. And the amount of diseases that we see secondary to these flea bites, it's horrific. And we're talking every time that flea bites the animal, it's injecting an antigen into the skin. And so the more times that flea bites before it dies or it ends its life cycle, the more antigen is going into that animal. So to try to answer your question, number one, you have to use some discernment when it comes to products that you're using. Don't totally stop using a very good flea product just because it's not natural, because a lot of the natural products aren't going to be effective enough under a situation like that. What's more important is
Okay.
making sure that you minimized all the other toxins, because a healthy animal is less susceptible to being bitten by fleas than a animal that is not so healthy. So think about plants. When you have a plant that has great nutrition, they're not going to be parasitized by bugs as you will a plant that is not thriving. And our animals are the same way. Our bodies are the same way. We are more subject to parasitism when we are not healthy. So make sure that you've addressed the good microbiome, the great diet, that you have minimal to no toxins in your household, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Then, if you have to use a flea product, if the natural things are just not enough, and in your situation and what we have here in Florida, it's not, then you can pick the least toxic products. And that would include never use the chewables. They are wicked bad. I won't mention names so I don't get into trouble. But you want to, don't use any of the chewables because they're loaded with genetically modified ingredients and all kinds of horrible things. And that leads to more inflammation. So you want to find products that are the cleanest and the leanest, and then make sure you treat your environment so that you get rid of the load that's in your environment. For every flea you see on your pet, there's about 20,000 in your environment. The life cycle of the flea, you have your adult flea and it lays eggs. And those eggs hatch when there is carbon dioxide and vibration. So a lot of people, when they go on vacation, they lock the house up and they come home. And when they open the house up, the kids run through the house, the dog runs through the house, and all of a sudden you have everybody breathing out carbon dioxide and making vibration on the ground. And these eggs that are there are going to hatch and explode. So it looks like you have this massive infestation. But it goes from the flea to an egg, and to the egg to a larva, and the larva to a pupa. You can kill all the stages with good environmental products, except for the pupa. It would survive the atom bomb. So you have to be able to treat your environment every 2 weeks or less before the life cycle begins again. And the life cycle is every 14 to 21 days. So you have to break the life cycle. The best way to do that is to keep treating the environment. If it's in your house, you want to vacuum really good and throw your vacuum bag away. And then you use a product that has a larvicide and an adulticide. And then you repeat that again in a week, and you do it again in a week, and then use something that is as safe as you can for the pet, staying away from your chewables. And then if you want to complement that with diatomaceous earth, see, Texas is like us, we have a lot of humidity, and diatomaceous earth doesn't work good when you have a lot of humidity. It's trying to desiccate the egg, and when you have that much humidity, it's not going to work.
Thank you,
Did that help?
Dr. Siegel.
Okay, thank you so much. That was very helpful. I really appreciate your comments. We'll make some adjustments here, and hopefully that'll start working a lot better.
Mm-hmm. And once you get it under control, then you don't have to use the harsher chemicals, but you have a dog that's much healthier as well.
Absolutely. And up until the summer, we were doing great. We had no problems at all. And then we brought home a new kitten that, bless my children's hearts, didn't check. And it brought home fleas with it. And so we had actually been doing really good until then. So
to get an infestation in your house is an absolute nightmare. They jump on you. They jump on you when you're sleeping. It's horrible.
Yes.
Focus on the environment.
And I don't do bugs very well.
Focus on the environment, and then work on getting rid of them in the pet as well.
Perfect. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you, caller. So we're nearing the end of another PetStar episode, and I'd like Dr. Siegel maybe to let us know what she's got in store for us in 2 weeks, and maybe any last closing comments for our audience today.
Well, closing comments. I think what I heard today encouraged me to tell people, don't focus on the symptoms. Look at the big picture. What are you doing in general for the lifestyle of your pet? Work on the big picture. What are you feeding? What's your water like? What's the quality of your household? That's the most toxic place for all of us. It's actually inside of our homes. What are you using? Are you getting furniture that's off-gassing? Do you have foam mattresses that are off-gassing the volatile organic compounds? So really look at all the things that you have control over. And then make a list. Column A are the things that you should be doing, but maybe you're not. Column B are the things that you shouldn't be doing and you still are. And then just pick one thing from each column. On column A, if you're not doing it and you should be, then start a little bit at a time, whatever your comfort zone is. On column B, if you're still doing it, pick one thing and just stop it. That's it, just stop it. It's not that hard. And then once it's not in your wheelhouse anymore, then go pick something else. And you keep doing that. And it's really amazing how quickly you can make massive changes, not only for your pet, but for yourselves as well. So that would be my pearl. Look at the big picture, don't pick apart the little symptom, and don't blame and shame anything. Just take control, be responsible, and start voting with your dollars. Don't make excuses. It's not too expensive. Just vote with your dollars, and then these products will come down in price and there will be so many more available. I know when our food comes out, we're going to be the target. We're going to be the ones everybody's going to have to come and match because we did it right. We didn't compromise anything. And you're going to see all these other companies that are going to have to match us or beat us. And I welcome that. Okay, so that was my pearl. And a couple things coming up. I want to say I'm going to be speaking in Michigan next month at a cancer event that I think you're going to be speaking at as well.
At the Cancer Prevention Convention in Michigan. Yes.
Yes. So I don't know if people can live stream into that, or if you can and you're in the area, please buy a ticket and come. We're going to have a lot of fun doing that. I'm speaking at a salt booth conference the following month in Boca Raton. So if you want to learn a little bit about salt therapy, maybe we'll do it on a show and talk a little bit about what salt therapy is and how magnificent it is. And then I'll be speaking at the Holistic Veterinary Conference in October, and I'm going to be speaking on ozone. So that's my agenda for this year. And of course, keeping our show going with you, which has been amazing. I'm impressed about how many people are calling in. That's really wonderful. And I even know some of them. How cool is that?
Yeah, well, there's a lot more, but they're going to have to wait for 2 weeks. So
is there any way that they can write in some of the questions so that we have an idea of what they want us to talk about? Because I can talk for days.
Well, what I'd like to do is if you have an email that they could send you the questions, then you can take a look at them, and then we can actually do their questions online if you'd like. I mean, not online, but on the show next time.
I think that's a great idea. Let's try that.
Yes.
All right, I'm going to spell this because it's a little long for you. It's the name of my hospital, Pasco Veterinary Medical Center. So the email address is P like in Paul, V like in Victor, M like in Mary, C like in cat, the word for, FORYOU @gmail.com. So it's PVMC4U spelled out @gmail.com.
Great. And so what are we going to talk about in 2 weeks, Dr. Siegel?
Well, we've talked a lot about food. We talked a lot about what should be in the diet. So if we can move on to a new topic, we touched on water. We can maybe include water.
Yep.
And then I'd like to start talking about some of the environmental things that people could do differently in their homes that will help to reduce toxins.
Beautiful. Well, I want to thank everybody for joining us. And I definitely want to thank Dr. Siegel for taking the time to come on the show because, you know what? They say that man is our best friend. And I mean, dogs are our best friend. And you know what? We also know that dogs are sicker than any other animal that we have in our house or outside of our house right now. And that's because they pick up everything that we pick up emotionally, and they can only eat as well as we eat. So you might want to take a look at that and start minding your own business a little bit and really checking out how you're living, what your cupboard looks like, what the fridge looks like, and just taking a look at that. And for those of you who want to have a little bit more help with that, you can go to braveheartlibrary.com, and I've got helpful eating suggestions there. I've got some emotional recordings there on how to start mastering your mind, because like I said today, you're not your mind, you're not your story, and you're not your thoughts until you've gone in and opened up that subconscious and taken a look there, because the average person, 70% of their beliefs are actually dysfunctional. And that was actually a major study that was done. So we might want to take a look at the way we think, okay? Because if you want to change your reality with your pet or yourself, you're going to have to change parts of your personality. And to do that, you might want to call in. I'm doing a Braveheart Nation show on Tuesday, July the 31st at 10 a.m. It's on for 2 hours. You can call in with all your emotional questions, anything that's stressing you out in life or things you don't know how to deal with properly. All right. And then Dr. Tony Amanas is with me August the 2nd at 3 p.m. Okay, for Hope for Cancer Q&A. And then guess what? The day that's on August the 2nd, but the day before, I'm doing Doc Talk Q&A. I'm talking about the 8 secrets to total detox. First of all, I want to thank Dr. Marlene Siegel again. If you've never visited her clinic down in Florida, you want to. It's unique. It's beautiful. It was built for pets and for their owners, and wait till you feel the love. Dr. Marlene Siegel, I want to thank you for joining me.
Thank you, everybody. And they could also go to my website. Tons of information there.
Okay, and the website is?
Pascovet.com.
That's right.
PASCOVET.com. And I have articles, I have blogs, I have videos. There's just a plethora of information. It's all free.
And what if I wanted to come and see you? Can you please tell everyone your phone number?
Area code 813-973-2929. And we do phone consultations.
Thank you very much, Dr. Marlene Siegel.
Thank you, everybody. Have a great night. Thank you, Doc.
And doggone it, everybody. Love yourself as much as your pet. Have a great night. We love you.
Bye.